Welcome. I really appreciate you coming out and being a part of our session today. We want to keep this very interactive, so we're going to actually ask you some questions throughout today. So feel free to raise your hand. I may want to bring the mic around so your question can be heard. My name's Eddie Staley. I'm the CXIO for WithersRavenel, and this is.
Hey, I'm Don Mizelle. I'm the Director of Client Experience at WR.
So we're just going to dive right in. We got a lot of information to kind of cover today, and I'm going to hit just a little bit of brief history about who we are and how we got started. I guess maybe a great question to start with, how many in this room are really just kind of starting your CX journey? So a few just getting started. How many are maybe a couple of years in? Yeah. So hopefully we have a little bit for everybody, but here's sort of how we got started. It actually started in 2016. I was sort of the champion for that for our company, and we really wanted to initialize that at the C-suite level. It needed that full top-down support. I would highly recommend that. If you're building a program, make sure you're getting that support. I think, Carl, you guys are doing a panel discussion on that tomorrow, correct? Fantastic. So make sure to catch Carl's panel discussion there and a few others. And one of the first things we did was develop the why and really kind of make sure that we made our outcomes align with our overall corporate vision for the company. Another really important thing, we integrated that with our employee experience program at the same time. The two really need to be hand in hand. So we worked really closely with our marketing department and HR department to basically get that information out. So I'm not going to read all this, but our vision's at the top, and these in the bold are sort of the things that we expected as outcomes. And let's be honest, that, activating promoters, long-lasting, profitable, this should all be tied back to revenue as well. Again, the value that we're providing should end up providing more financial value as well. We implemented the client feedback tool. How many people are using that? Okay, good number. Fantastic application for us to use. We explain that to our clients, why they get it, the importance of why they get that feedback. And again, these are our results year to date. 78 net promoter, 98% meets or exceeds. Last kind of thing here, we just recently made a switch to Uninet. Previously, we were on Deltek Vision. It had client feedback tool integrated with both. That's really nice to have all that information in one place. Uninet has been a good switch for us as well. Nathan over here in the corner, I'm going to call him out for a moment. He has been working with us building some really cool dashboards. At some point, I would love to show what we've been able to do there. Really the great work, but it just makes it so much easier to be able to send feedback, have all the project information right there, be able to look at revenue and feedback inside the same dashboard, real time. Really big improvement. So that's sort of where we are today, kind of how we got started. And I want to turn it over to Don for just a moment to kind of talk about our CXM program.
Thanks, Eddie. Good morning, everybody. You saw a slide earlier. It was our 26 client experience fundamentals. That, in conjunction with client feedback tool, we're kind of a wide net we cast within the organization to try to build a culture of CX with all of our project managers. As we move forward through that process, leadership found it to be a priority to put boots on the ground, to have a team of people who are solely focused on client experience. So 3 years ago, we founded the Client Experience Manager Program, or CXMs. Fast forward to today, we have a team of about 10 people whose job is to focus on client experience. Ideally, those folks, myself included, are not in the weeds working on technical issues, not managing staff and teams, but really focusing on the client experience and spending time with our clients. So I could take a deeper dive with you guys on that topic after the break, but kind of limited for time today. So I wanted to focus on kind of 4 key things that our CXMs do. First of all, client onboarding, very important to building that foundation for a good client relationship. Not only does the client need to know about kind of how we operate, what we do, what our processes are, it's super important for us to get to know our clients, what their pain points are, what their motivating factors are, the why behind their projects. Hey, we're designing a water tank. That's great. We know how to do that. But what does that mean to the community, to their stakeholders? So very important. And again, our CXMs have the bandwidth to spend time with clients asking those questions and learning more. The more we speak to our clients, the more time we spend with them certainly leads to a better understanding of their client needs, both based on the project and beyond. So again, just spending that time with the client is integral in what we do. Integrating technical resources. Again, we should not be in the weeds doing the technical work, but there's probably 20 or 30 people in any project behind the scenes working diligently on project deliverables. And we try to mask that noise from our clients, so we're that one point of contact to, again, just be a trusted advisor moving forward. And building lasting relationships, again, we should have the time to spend with our clients. Any relationship takes time, energy, and effort to build, and by being proactive and being very deliberate and spending time with clients, we can build those relationships over time. So we've been asked over the years, internally and externally, to describe exactly what it is we do. You can see those 4 goals or 4 purposes. It took several minutes to go through. There's a lot more roles and responsibilities we have, but simply put, I think this is very effective. Our CXMs make it easy for our clients to work with us, and internally for us to work with one another. So that's a little bit of the history of our CX program, kind of culminating with the CXM team. I'm turning it back over to Eddie to talk about some things moving forward.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And actually, I'm going to call out somebody here in the audience for a second. She doesn't know this, but over here is Carrie Rands that works with us. She is the fantastic person that makes all these really nice graphics. This is our CX EX DNA. Again, internal branding is really, really key to make sure that it's pulled into our culture, and she does a fantastic job helping with that. So again, it really is a team effort inside of our company to make sure that our culture of CX goes all the way through from top to bottom, which kind of leads to why we're here today, what we really want to talk about. So back right before COVID, that's a bad word, I know, I don't like to say that, but right before COVID, we actually did our first client listening workshop. And it was a great success on numerous levels. By the way, we actually hired 2 of the people that participated as panelists about 6 months later. So it's a great recruiting tool, which is a top issue for everybody, I think. But during COVID, we did some of this virtually, but really we're not able to get everybody back together. Well, this past December, we held our first client listening workshop, and we called that workshop Exceptional Service by Design. Thank you, Carrie, again for branding. And so again, really branding that information out, getting that inside of our company. And the purpose of this is to really drive that CX culture all the way down into every individual employee inside the company. As Don mentioned, our CX managers really do a good job of truly managing relationship. It's not just project management. It truly is intentional management of that client relationship. And they do a great job. But the bad side of that is it does somewhat insulate our technical staff from that client. And that can be a bad thing. We need them to have some empathy. We need them to understand the why of that project as well. And so this was a great way to be able to bring that staff in and let them hear directly from the client, not from me, not from Don or somebody else inside the company, but directly from the client. So let's kind of take a look at some of the whys, as we kind of said here, that technical staff, connecting with key clients, some good outcomes for us. We'll share this in a moment, but when you ask a client to come and be heard, you just created a friend for life. This is so unusual for them inside our industry to just say, come talk to us today, spend time with us. Every time we do that, that client relationship goes through the roof. Again, letting them know that our CX program is more than some pretty graphics and more than just a statement on our website. We live it and we put it into action every day. So we're going to ask some questions that we typically get asked. I'm going to kind of go back and forth with Don here, but number one is, how do you identify clients? Well, I want somebody that's going to be open and honest. somebody that I've got a relationship with that they feel they can tell me things that maybe they think I don't want to hear, right? So find somebody that's not there just to go, you're great. Keep doing what you're doing, right? Find somebody that's willing to tell you what you need to know. The other thing I would say is, and Don did a great job of this, at our most recent panel, we invited a guy that wasn't a client, but we think he should be. And he came. And by the end, I think his exact words were, what, Don? I think I need to be, right. I think I need to be a client. Okay. So it doesn't always have to just be a client. Who's a thought leader in your industry? Who is somebody that you should be working with? Invite them. Do the clients understand the purpose of the workshop? So Don, I'll let you kind of take that one for a moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's always good to frame the workshop in context of it's not just for our firm to hear. We told our potential panelists, hey, we are active members of CXPS. We do a lot of networking there, talk to our peers a lot. And what we learn from you at this panel, we're going to share with our peers to try to elevate the industry. That was very key, and it resonated with those panelists. So basically, the overarching purpose is it's for the betterment of our industry moving forward. Again, that resonated, and specifically for our clients, those that work with us, it was an opportunity for them to be very candid about what works, what doesn't, maybe questions we aren't asking that we should be asking. So it was a great forum for them to feel comfortable and to ask those questions.
So the next one was, did anyone kind of reject your ask? We've done this like 3 or 4 times now. I've never had a single soul come back and say, no, I just don't want to do that. We've had some that say, I can't be there that day, but I'll give you some written feedback, or I'm willing to do a virtual meeting and let you record that. In fact, I'll share one of those in a moment. We've never had anybody, I don't think you have either, right? So don't be afraid to ask. Chances are they're going to say yes because they understand the value. Did they leave with a better perception? I think that's a resounding yes. Again, we always get fantastic feedback. Again, the number one thing we hear is, nobody else is doing this. None of my other engineers I work with, nobody else in the industry is doing this. It sets a different tone. And again, back to Don's point, I think this is about elevating our profession as a whole. That's why we come and share this information. It really is about getting this kind of maybe stigma, if you will, that engineers just like numbers and they're really not good with people. We can be really good with people. Just make sure we've got the right structure and we understand what our clients' needs are. And then Don, I'll let you kind of take this last one. What takeaways? You just finished the most recent one here last week on Thursday, so we got some really fresh content from Don. But yeah, maybe some takeaways from this last one.
Sure. Thanks, Eddie. Yeah, I guess the biggest takeaway from a client standpoint is they knew they were heard. We asked some great questions, and they provided great feedback. They actually, we'll get to the details of this later, but they participated in our kind of brainstorming, ideation, and work session. So they've got skin in the game now that they've kind of given us their feedback, and I think they're very interested to what the next steps are going to be. What are you going to do with the feedback I've given you? What does that look like from a project delivery standpoint? What are you going to change? What are you going to do better? What are you going to do different? So I guess the biggest takeaway is they're very optimistic about what's to come, which is exciting for us.
Yeah, and to that point, it's actually a great thing because when the client says, this has been great, I'm anxious to see what you're going to do, then guess what? You have some accountability, right? You can't go back and go, well, I guess we're not going to do anything, right? No, we have. So again, that actually kind of helps build that support for it, right? A lot better to get that initiative going from the client than it is from me or Don coming back and saying, hey, I think we need to do this. So before I hop off of this, any other questions? We try to kind of hit the top questions we always get asked, but any other questions in the room about hosting something like this? What challenges, what opportunities do you see inside your organization? But both. So during COVID, we did it virtually. In fact, the one in December, we did it in person, but one person couldn't come, and he was more than glad to do an interview and have that recorded on Teams. And we've actually got a little small clip of that today. So in December, and we'll hit on some of this in a moment, from our December one, we kind of took away some feedback and some lessons learned, and we actually compressed that a little bit more, did a little bit more pre-work, which I think was really, really good, some of that pre-interview side. We provided the questions in December, but we didn't really interview them. And then when we come back this past week, we actually did a pre-interview and recorded that, which was kind of handy to have that recorded as well, in addition to recording the day off. So I think you can work either way, but in person, same reason why we're here today. It's always better. Yep. Yep. No one catch you. Yeah. Excellent question, because that was a lesson learned from December. Yeah, oh, I'm sorry. So the question was, geographically, like, where are you located at? How do you get clients to travel and et cetera? So we have an office here in the Cary and the Triangle area, but we have offices from Asheville all the way to Wilmington. We cover the entire state of North Carolina. And we ask clients basically from the Triangle area to come to the Triangle. So most of them have less than a 45-minute drive. But when we went to Wilmington, we did that intentionally because we wanted to go hit our clients that are in the Wilmington area, and they're only 25, 30 minutes away. So we're actually doing these geographically across the state, going to where our clients are, and also where our teams are that are working with those clients. But yeah, that's a fantastic point. If you have multiple offices, you need to be able to move that around.
Pros and cons of having your clients together in the room that are potentially competitors of each other.
Mm-hmm.
The nuances to that made it interesting, better or worse than you thought?
Yeah, so we do try to keep direct competitors out. Maybe we'll pick one this time, one the next time, but probably not have them in the same room. But in the makeup of the personas of the clients that we did have there, we had about half were local government and half were private development, because that's about the split of our company as well. And it was actually really good because as they're doing some ideation with us of how we can serve them better, there was also some crosstalk of, well, your permitting process is a little bit difficult to get through, right? And then the local government says, well, when, not all developers are as nice as you, right? That kind of thing. So it was actually really good crosstalk there too as well. And when we got into the problem solving, we are that problem solver in the middle, right? We are that representative of the private developer and of that local government. So if we can all work together as partners, all looking for the same best interest, it's going to be easier for everybody. Fantastic question, though. Yes, sir. So generally speaking, it would be project managers and maybe like a junior project manager. So not all the way down to every technical staff, but it would be somebody that has direct responsibility for the ultimate delivery of that work. Let me grab this one. I'll come back over this way. Yes.
When you have lessons learned from those workshops, how do you make sure that gets, what's the best way you found to make sure that gets delivered to your project next?
Yeah, so that's one of the good reasons to have that technical staff there, because they're my champions. They go back and say, hey guys, we've got to do this. I actually signed us up for it instead of Eddie or Don, right? They signed us up for it. And then basically we work with them to kind of guide through. We'll show some of this in just a moment, kind of the project charter and some things that have come out of that. So we're going to take maybe two more just so we can keep moving along. But the fantastic questions, by the way. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we'll kind of show a picture of this, but we start off with the clients as panelists up front. And in fact, I'm going to hop forward one slide. We have this really great guy that works for us. You'll hear his radio voice here in just a moment, Jed. And Jed has really come out to be a great teammate for us. He is just a great active listener. And just, somebody says something and he says, hey, you just said something. That's really interesting. Can you tell me more? And so if you can find somebody like that in your organization that's really that kind of a little deeper, definitely use them. Again, it takes a lot of load off Don and I and a few others to have him there to be able to do it. But we have those panelists up front. Jed is kind of teeing up a question, and it goes wherever it goes from that point, right? The one thing I will say is our audience, our technical staff, they're not allowed to talk. They have to be quiet and listen. I don't want them going, well, I disagree. No, you don't disagree. You stay quiet and listen. Listen. So that's sort of the listening time, and then we kind of take a break, and then we break up into groups. We'll show this in a moment. And we generally have some type of ideation exercise that's going on. That's, and that panelist is actually in a group with our employees working through some ways to be able to make things better. And then whatever comes out is what comes out, and we decide how we're going to implement that. Last question, really quick. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 So, can you better now? Yeah, you can't her question. Gotcha. So the question was, recording the empathy. Yeah, in fact, we do have some recordings of some of the interviews. I didn't bring any of the empathy with me today, but yeah, we try to record as much of that as possible, because again, that goes back on the SharePoint, and so this is how we can start to kind of share that down to all the staff. So as I mentioned, Jed's been a great moderator. I'm just going to kind of blow through some of this, but again, really the power of listening is key here. So this was one of our clients from December. He is the assistant city manager in Kannapolis, really good friend. I've known Eddie Smith for a long time. He has a great name. But he was not able to attend, but he said, I'm all in. Can we do it virtually? I'll do it virtually. And I said, hey, that's great. So I turned Jed loose on him.
My sense is you depend on a lot of different types of consultants in the AEC and design community. So what are some of the pain points that you experience or have experienced when dealing with consultants? Free reign.
Yeah. Communication is number one. What architect firms, engineering firms sometimes fail to do is they don't have the ability, right, to translate engineering terms or phrases or processes into everyday layman terms. So it's not uncommon for people who deal with numbers all day long or connecting the dots, such as engineers and accountants, to just stay focused on that. And it's black and white. It's yes and no. But that's not the world we live in, at least not in the local government realm.
All right. So what did you hear? If you were in the audience like you are now, what did you hear? What was your takeaway from Eddie Smith? Communication. What else? Simple terms. Don't use acronyms, right? Don't engineer speak me. Is he correct? Let me ask, does it matter if he's correct or not? No. That's his perception. He's telling you how he likes to be, how he likes to work. And if we know that, let's document it. Let's make sure everybody on the team knows what he likes, what he doesn't like. Let's give him what he's asking for. As long as it doesn't mess up our core processes, as long as it doesn't go against our ethics or our core values, if we can give him what he wants, let's do it. Let's make him a raving fan. And he is. And this is a great community to work for. Just really growing and vibrant community. So we do quite a bit of work there. So it's really important that we understand how he thinks and what matters to him. So these were some example questions that Jed kind of starts with. I won't go through each one of these. We actually have several more, but there's a couple that I want to kind of point out here. Stressful moments. What are 3 stressful moments? Man, that'll tell you a lot about the client, why they're awake that night. And what can I do? What can I do to relieve that stress? Is it as simple as picking up the phone and say, hey, I know that deadline's coming up, but we're on it. We're going to make it. Instead of waiting till the day of the deadline to go, here's the stuff that you were expecting. Just having that conversation. This one's really good. What is something every engineering consultant should do but rarely does? I had the best answer ever for this from the mayor of a small town. She said, come back 1 year later after the project is built and ask us how it's doing. 1 year later. What's good about going back 1 year later? She's probably got more work for you to do, right? Use this as an opportunity for business development as well. Go find something else to do for that client. And again, if something's not working right, hey, let's talk about it. Maybe there's, I can't fix it for free, but maybe there's some things we can do to make it better. Let's start another project up. So think about those kind of questions that you would ask. And by the way, we're more than willing to share this PowerPoint with anybody. I'll share it to you as a PDF. Again, we're a great community, a great cohort. If I can ever help in any way, my contact information's there. Reach out. I would love to talk with any and each one of you because I'm probably going to take away something from you as well. So it's a great opportunity just to work together. So
hearing things like, well, we've done this a million times, so we know what we're doing, or we're really good at this because we've done this project, and that's great, and we kind of know that because that's we've done our homework too. But I think if you treat each project as it's unique and tell us how you're going to be different in treating that project just for the town of Apex.
okay, so what did she say? What did we hear from her? It was a little bit tough at the beginning. I apologize. Yes. Yeah. Listen to what matters to her. I cut this piece out just because it just didn't work right. But she said, I know that you've done this a million times, but my project is 1 in a million. And man, I thought that was awesome. It's like, yes, put that in like a slogan, put it on the wall somewhere, right? My project is 1 in a million. And it is to her, right? We've done it a million times. But this is her one time to do it. She's economic development for Apex. Her projects are like publicized, right? Big industry coming to town. If it doesn't end up on schedule, something doesn't go well, that's public too as well. And then she has to directly answer for it. So yeah, this project's real. When she's working with us, those projects are really important. There are a lot of things that really define success for her that may feel very different than other projects. Other things that you heard. I would say listen to her experience. This is one of our 26 fundamentals. Dive into that local knowledge. There are things about that community, about the politics, about the way things work that we really don't know because we're not inside the fence, but she knows. So really take that opportunity to learn from her, to learn from that client. So here's another one of these. We'll listen really quickly.
Being a good consultant, it's best to know who you're talking to. If you're talking to a mayor, a council member, we want to know this is what we're going to do, and this is going to be the result. This is how long it's going to take. The numbers go down to staff and beyond, but understanding who you're talking to at a certain moment is very important. And so it's stressful for us when you start getting into numbers, when you start telling us how much capacity is involved with this, that, and third, the size of the pipe that's going here. We need language that we can relate directly to our citizens.
Okay. So this is the mayor of a small town. What did he say? What did you hear? Layman terms, equip him to communicate, right? That's his job. I think it's important too. He said, know who you're talking to. When we do a project, how many, pretty much every project we do you have one single point of contact? I hope so, right? Because I don't like working for a committee. But guess what? You kind of are working for a committee. You got one point of contact, but there are multiple stakeholders throughout this project. That's something we try to find out right up front. because if I'm not careful, I can get the perspective of my point of contact who may not have a good read of the room of the rest of the stakeholders. And we get to the end of the project and all of a sudden the mayor says, this looks nothing like what I thought it was going to be. This turned out awful. Meanwhile, our point of contact's been saying, great job, keep it up. Know who those stakeholders are and know how to talk to those stakeholders. Again, this is where the CXMs come in really good. Don didn't mention this earlier, but when we put that posting out, that job posting out, the talent, the very talent that came to apply for those jobs was tremendous. Retired city managers, public works directors. They're fantastic. They know exactly what our client is living every day. They're fantastic CXMs. They're really good project managers too. They don't have to know engineering. They don't have to know how to, the pump curve or, you know, the Bernoulli principle or anything else, right? I don't need them to know that. I need them to know people is what I need them to know. I need them to know relationships. So we're able to actually pull from different industries outside the engineering world that can add value to our projects. Senior level value. And that's a hot commodity to come by right now in the engineering world, trying to find talent. So again, know who your stakeholders are and know who you're talking to and what's going to matter to them. Last one of these.
What we've talked about and what Leslie talked about is communication and trust. And I don't know if any of you, Maslow's hierarchy is, you know, you've got foundational trust, and then once you have trust, you start to have the uncomfortable conversations. But then once you get past that, you get into commitment. And that's where I think, you know, you get your clients, they trust you, and they'll keep coming back to you because there's the bond and the glue that keeps you together.
Okay. City engineer for a local municipality here. What did she say? Trust. How do you build trust? Communication, intentional, time, right? That's something that's got to be built over time. Trust is also built by saying something and then doing what you said, right? So again, this is not, you know, what she's telling you is, and Eddie Smith actually had this in his too as well. He said, you're coming to talk to me about a project with 7 figures on it. You need to be somebody that I want to send a Christmas card to. I thought that was really, really good when he said that. I need to be your friend because I know a friend's going to look after me. And that's really what she's saying. They need that bond. Now, it's kind of funny. I didn't play some of these. We had a developer on this panel. In fact, this is the guy second from the right. And he said, here's what I need. I need a hole in the ground with a pipe coming out of it. And I need it fast and I need it cheap. Don't put flowers on it. Don't make it pretty like y'all normally do, where we try to turn a stormwater pond into an amenity. I need a pipe with a hole. That's all I need. Is that a problem? It's only a problem if we don't like to do that kind of work, but that's pretty good work too. He does some nice projects. So we need to know that when we're working with that client. That's what his expectations are. It's really about just understanding that individual. And this has become a really great way for us to tag into our unique clients, their unique perspective, for them to sit up there together and go, wow, you're having some of the same issues I have. I'm seeing some of the same commonalities. Maybe there's some ways to work together. So this young lady right here that was just speaking, at the end of this, she said, you know, this would be great for our town to do and invite consultants to come in and you be on a panel and our folks hear what we as a town could do better. Because I got the feeling, you know, our RFQ process probably isn't the easiest thing to deal with. And, you know, it was almost like a church meeting. Amen. You know, that kind of thing. It's like, no, it is not. You know, maybe our permitting process is not really working for you guys. No, there's some things we could probably help with, or at least some ideas. Maybe let's get in the room. So again, that's how much value she saw out of this session. She's like, I want to take this back and reverse it. I want to do this with you guys because I think there's pain that we're causing that we could probably get away from. That's impactful. So I mentioned this earlier. Next thing we do is kind of go to our empathy mapping. These 26 fundamentals, we've shared these before, I'd be more than glad to share again. But these are the 26 fundamentals that come out of a client listening session that we did. Our folks put Post-it notes on the wall. And so you see things like, hey, make the complex simple. Heard that one a minute ago, right? We see no crickets, always respond. Know your client's communication style. What's this one here? Yes, specialize the client journey. So these are things that we actually highlight every 2 weeks from our CEO. He sends out an email. There's a client experience and an employee experience fundamental that we focus on for 2 weeks. And in our team meetings, somebody has to share a story about how they lived that fundamental out. Again, it keeps it up on the front of the mind all the time. So when we went into the empathy mapping, we said, think about those 26 fundamentals. How are some ways that we're going to hear today that we could live these out even better? And by the way, these are our core values around the outside. So everything ties right all the way back up to the core value. So we asked to describe the critical moments during a project. We actually had a nice little book. In fact, I've got one of these here with me. Looks something like this. Thanks again, Carrie, for the branding. Inside here, basically our little journey, kind of sort of journey mapping. We had to do this really, really quick. This should take probably days to fill out. We had like an hour, but we hit the high spots on it. And at least it got it going. Since then, we've been able to take that back inside and start to compile all these together and got some outcomes from it. But ultimately, we broke into those groups, reviewed the notes that they were taking during the listening session, worked with the panelists inside their group, and they chose one of those areas. Is it kickoff? Is it project closeout? What part of that journey, what are the critical things that should be happening that your client needs? And we were able to basically gather all that together and compile it into one document. So what were some of those outcomes? Well, we kind of had 3 outcomes that come from it. The project charter kind of already had one of those, but this was an amendment and an update to that. The delivery matrix, this was pretty interesting. That's sort of down here. And then our client onboarding box. So our project charter, a couple of things on this. You see sort of this racy chart here, who's responsible, who's taking all the actions, and et cetera, who gets reported to. So what is your part on this team? And then highlighted in yellow are actually some CX objectives that happen in there. And again, this really has helped with the CXM integration. It really has helped our technical staff understand the value of that CXM. Because I'll be honest, at times it's sort of like, you don't need them. I know the client, I can take care of that. But that's not always the case. And the second thing I would say is, every moment that project manager is having to choose between getting a set of plans out the door or responding to a client. And I can tell you most of them are going to try to get the plans out the door. And the client can wait. CXM, client doesn't wait. Client's always got the ear of that CXM. And again, if I can do that, it lets my technical staff that are really, really good at technical things focus on what they're good on. They're more productive. And our client's happier. Project profitability goes up. Client satisfaction goes up. But basically inside here, we ended up adding in a couple of new steps as part of that project management. Not just the relationship management, but the project management itself. And who's responsible for that? The next one here is sort of this project matrix. This is not fully fleshed out yet. But basically, understanding that our clients probably live in one of these 4 buckets. Hole in the ground with a pipe, he lives in minimum, right? The state says we must put a hole in the ground with a pipe coming out of it. So that's where he lives. Okay, our pricing structure for that client is going to be a little bit different. I've got the client that says, hey, I need a lot of communication. I'm going to need you to come talk to my counsel. We're going to need to hold public meetings. I need to be really integrated into this project, which is fantastic, by the way. They're going to live here. And we're also going to see a price increase for that client. Scope this stuff before the contract actually gets written. That was a major issue that we had. We would win a project. It would go back into the technical side. They would say, I need 10 hours to design this, 20 hours to design that, da-da-da-da-da-da. Here's your final cost. Here's the scope of work. Sign the contract. First kickoff meeting, we need to have a public meeting. Okay, well, we don't have budget for that. Well, we got to do it. Well, can we get a change order? Not before we've done the first piece of work, we can't. We missed it. Just totally missed it because that project manager is focused on delivery. Put CX in, all of a sudden that goes away. And Don, maybe add some to that too as well, right?
Yeah, good point, Eddie. And earlier I mentioned the onboarding process that the CXMs own. The sooner you can do that, the better. And maybe it's not at contract time. Maybe it's before you go to contract. Just to find out what level of service they need or want from a from the update standpoint, from a communication standpoint, and bake all that stuff into your client experience program and bake that into your scope and fee. That's key because nothing's worse than getting to that point and realizing the client needs a lot of attention and a lot of touches, but there's no budget for it. So, great point.
No, fantastic. And again, this makes it nice because it actually makes the client be truthful with themselves as well. And what I mean by that, if I go ask a client and say, do you need this? No, I don't need that. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Let's sit down and really talk about what your expectations are. And so they're going to basically tell you that they're going to tell you what they expect. And then we can line that up and make sure that we're charging for that. Kind of the last thing here on the client onboarding side, pulled together this really great box. Again, thank you, Carrie, for branding, right? Let's create together. There's all the normal kind of little, notepads and stuff like that. That's fine. But this is our 26 fundamentals right here in this little flip book. We share those with the client and say, hold us accountable to this. This is our brand promise to you. Are we living up to these 26 fundamentals? Many times we'll come back to that client and say, hey, one of our fundamentals this week was X. Here's something that I want to do for you to live so I can say I lived up to that fundamental. Again, it just keeps it moving. It keeps it moving forward, keeps the client engaged. The other fun one is when you first start with us, you get this little customized Lego guy here. It's like ready to work. And the more work you do, the more Legos you get. And so they just continue to build. That's our relationship building with that client. Plus, it's fun to have on their desk. And somebody says, what's that? And they say, it's WithersRavenel. You should be working with them. They're really, really good. So those are sort of the 3 things that come out of that December. I'm going to turn it over to Don for a few minutes to talk about the one that was finished Thursday of last week. So Don, take it away.
Great. Thanks, Eddie. So yeah, last Thursday, we had the first of our traveling CX workshops at our satellite office in Wilmington, about 2 hours south and east of Raleigh. Had a good group attend that. We had a panel of 6 clients, actually 5 clients, one hopefully soon to be client. Well attended by our local PMs and local technical staffs who are or could be client facing. So that's the audience. Had some of our corporate team members come down from Raleigh and Cary as well and joined us. So about 36 folks. We had it at the UNCW Innovation Entrepreneurship Center, which is a pretty appropriate venue for us since we're talking about innovative processes and CX. It's a great venue. Again, well attended, and the first of 4. We're doing Charlotte, Asheville, and Greensboro offices all before the end of this year. So taking it on the road and hearing from our local clients. So things we learned from the Raleigh workshop in December. Won't go through all these bullet points, but it was interesting. So I had the idea back in December that wouldn't it be great to take somebody from survey and environmental and BD and get them at the table and interact, because they probably don't interact on a normal basis that often. What a cool thing that would be. The feedback we got is I want to play with my teammates, the folks I work with every day. We have shared experiences, shared clients, and I'd rather focus on that than people I really deal with. So, message received. So in Wilmington back on Thursday, we try to group our people with their work groups, keep their teams together so they can focus on, hey, we all share this one common client, this one common project. We know what the pitfalls are. We know what the challenges are. We've got something we can work towards in short order. So that was message received there. More time for client listening. I'll go through that in just a minute. Our workshop in Raleigh was a full day deal, like 9:30 to 4 o'clock. This is 2.5 hours. And we did a lot of leg work ahead of that to compress that time frame to make it fit within the time frame given. So we basically, Eddie went over the questions we did in Raleigh, the kind of leading questions, the overarching 30,000-foot questions. What are we doing that we shouldn't be, or what should we be doing that we're not doing, et cetera. We actually interviewed our panelists about a month ahead of time. We emailed them a list of 10 leading questions. And when we had that phone interview or Teams interview, it became apparent what their hot button issues were, what they really wanted to talk about. So we then kind of narrowed it down to 2 questions the week before the panel, sent them those questions. Hey guys, we're going to hit you with one of these 2 questions. Be prepared. So when we show up at the panel, there was no drilling down to what's important. We knew what was important from the beginning, and we just got things rolling really quickly. So instead of taking 2.5 hours to get to what's important, 45 minutes we were there with 6 panels.
The work was still there. It was just pre-workshop, right?
Absolutely. Yep. And it was really rewarding to have those one-on-ones, kind of in a safe environment with your clients, to really get down to what's important to them. And I was sat in on every one of those interviews, and I picked up some great nuggets that we can really kind of vet out as far as improving our processes and how we treat the CX with our clients. So looking forward to moving forward with that. The exercise, a little bit different than the journey empathy mapping that Eddie talked about. We had 45 minutes to get it done. Smaller audience, again, about 36 people versus 80. So we had 3 common kind of topics that arose from the client panel discussion. Proactive communication, focus on outcomes, and be a true partner were the general themes. So what we did, took a little break and broke up into 3 groups, and we got out of our seats, got around the whiteboards, and started ideation, started looking at what were the root causes for some of these issues, or what the root causes for not doing these things. And then we focused on solutions. And the cool thing was we had 3 clients that hung out for the workshop, and we let them choose their topic and kind of lead that discussion at their board. So it was the client and our team kind of brainstorming on how to make things better. So again, probably a 30-minute exercise of noting, again, root causes and solutions. And then each group shared with each other, and that kind of encouraged for more collaboration, more insight. So just a very collaborative process. I've got several to-dos now from that ideation. So we're looking forward to following back up with our clients, our panelists, letting them know what we heard, some initiatives we're going to take on, and keep them in the loop, and hopefully have some outcomes that they can really point to and say, hey, I helped Withers get there. That's what we're looking forward to.
Really quick there, Don,
Yeah.
too, as well. I actually was on that outcomes panel one there, and we really dove into that stakeholder piece. Who are the stakeholders on the project? What are the 3 to 5 things that each one of those stakeholders says will define success? What is their definition of success? And again, when we do that, we find that each person has a little bit different twist on that. And knowing that up front, putting it in the project charter, making sure that we're staying on track, that we're not veering off, that's really, really important. Again, I'm going to use that really quick to talk about RX, revenue experience as well. If I can keep us from veering off path, doing work that basically doesn't add value, keeping us focused, moving down the road, that just basically just means it's a much more profitable project. When we lose profitability on a project, generally speaking, is when we've gold-plated something that we shouldn't have gold-plated. Because, this project's so much fun, I just want to keep working on it and keep doing what I want to do on it instead of what necessarily the client wants to do. The other thing that I would say is that all of a sudden we start striving towards some outcome that we've decided is the right outcome instead of what the client says is the right outcome. Those two things, if we can prevent that, that's just lost revenue that we can't ever get back. And so whenever we, since we put this into place, our revenue, our, direct labor multiplier has gone up basically by about 10 to 12% on projects. I mean, that's significant. I mean, that's direct to profitability. So if somebody says, well, I just don't know, why are we doing this CX thing in our company? It just feels like it's a lot of work and it's tough. At the end of the day, it is about money. It's about client, not to mention the intangibles of how much does it cost to replace a client when you lose one, right? How much does it cost to replace an employee because they're fed up arguing with a client and just not having a good experience at work when we're in a major talent war? There's a lot of intangibles, but at the end of the day, if it's black and white, I can show you numbers on projects. So, Don, I'll let you kind of close out here. We can close out together.
Let's do it together.
All right. You look surprised.
Exactly. No, so we were thinking about how to close. Again, we spent a lot of detail talking about our history of our CX program, kind of where we're at today, and certainly our panel discussions have been a big part of that. And hopefully, you guys can take something away from that today. Whether it's the abbreviated version, the roadshow we're doing now, or the big one we did back in December, but definitely encourage you to take a look at that. Again, it's so impactful getting that feedback from clients and having your people hear it directly. Again, the two of us can preach that. We can put out infographics. We can have Carrie do wonderful marketing and infographic pieces for us, but and when they hear it from clients, it's so much more impactful. So we've come up with the 3 Ds as far as CX, and Eddie, this is your brainchild, so I'll yield the floor to you.
Oh, man. All right, so develop strong relationships. Again, this is a moment of wow with those clients when they get asked to come in and say, we want to hear what you got to say. We want to put you in front of our people, and we want them to hear what you've got to say. Those relationships, when those clients leave, they're clients forever. They rave about us. It differentiates us from our delivery from other firms. Again, listen to what you heard today. A good way to put it, one of our clients said this one time, y'all went to the same school. You got the same PE from the same state. That's a given. We wouldn't even be talking to you if you didn't have that. The experience I'm going to have is why I'm hiring you. Okay, now you got to do the technical work. I'm always very careful to say that. I don't want to belittle the technical work because it does matter. It is important. But if you want to be different than your other firms down the road, CX is where that difference truly is. That's where the client sees the difference. They expect the work to be quality and to be good from everybody, but ultimately that CX is what's going to make the difference. And then it deepens the why each project matters to our client. And this is something I'm very passionate about, and this is where I was going to kind of hop in here, Don. But there's the mayor of the little town I was talking about earlier. He's from down the road here in Selma, North Carolina. A town that's just right in the middle of Johnston County. Everything around it's growing, and they were not growing. They had a lot of poverty, a lot of issues. Their sewer system was failing. Their water system was failing. They had business and people wanting to come there, but they couldn't do anything. We were able to help them find funding to be able to solve some of those issues. We worked really closely with the council. Over time, I think we've been able to get them close to about $15 million in funding to solve all those problems. This guy is a raving lunatic for us. He loves us because we dove into his community. We understood what his problems were. We understood how we could lean in and really help. And again, that community is starting to grow. They've got development that's happening there. They've got investment that's happening there. And to me, that's the passion of why I get up every day and go to work. And if I can understand that same passion on our client side and really connect with that, wow, man, that makes work great. And again, from an employee experience, That's why our guys get up and go to work and our ladies get up and go to work every day, to understand how that impact that they're making on that community. That pump station that seems kind of bland and we've done 1,000,000 times before, it is a 1 in a million project. It truly is a 1 in a million project. So, last slide, Don. Can you hear me now? Right? Listen to your clients. Take the opportunity. Hopefully we've shared something today that you can take back. I think we got a few moments for questions. So fire away if there's any questions. Yes, ma'am.
How was this received by your project team? I know you mentioned they weren't allowed to talk or ask questions.
Yeah.
How was that received by their perspective?
So I'll give my thoughts, and Don, I'll let you kind of give yours too as well. Again, I think there's certainly a few that walk away from that and it's bah humbug, right? And you're just not going to win them over, and that's okay. We put them in a corner and they never talk to anybody. They get to do work, and if that's what they want to do, that's great. There's a lot that we're able to pull over the fence, I would say, that maybe in the past would not have really dove into this at all, that we're actually able to pull over. There's another set that was already there that they were really engaged with clients. They're really good project managers. And what this has done on the CX side is it gives them a place to grow inside of our company. And that's really important. Again, keeping talent is really important for us because it's really hard to replace. So when that project managers kind of reach that senior project manager level, they're kind of getting burned out on the work. Hey, guess what? Let's move you over to the CXM program. Now you've got a place to really shine and do what you want to do. But yeah, to your point, there's some piece of our project managers that we just figure out really quick this is not going to work for them. And that's okay. They just got to do a lot of plans.
Yeah, quick little follow up too. And it'll be like us leaving here on Thursday, jacked up about CX. We get back to work on Friday, and the weight of the world crushes our spirit again. So we need to do a better job of this. Is just identifying those who are really excited about it. Our PMs are excited about it, and providing some next steps for them to keep them engaged, because it's really easy to fall back into the workaday world after these events.
Yep. Schedules and et cetera.
Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
I really like your client assessment matrix based on the project. Are your clients doing that?
Oh yeah, we actually share that with them and say, what would you like? Yeah. And there's sorry, thank you. I always forget about the microphone. The question was, I think, sharing that client matrix and kind of tying that back to value. That was actually something that our CEO, Jim Canfield, we were kind of doing a little brainstorming one day, and that came up about 4 or 5 years ago. Is like, hey, let's just put it right out there in front of somebody. Let's just say, we can deliver any way you want. Tell me what you want, and there's a cost for that. And so, yeah, I think sometimes we make, kind of to Kendra's point from Holly Springs there, sometimes I think we just don't trust ourselves to have those kind of conversations with a client, and they actually want to have those conversations. I mean, it's in their best interest at the end of the day. They're wanting to get what they want, right? And so the best way to do is just ask. And that's a really great vehicle to kind of disarm and take away the awkwardness of asking. Yes, ma'am.
When you have that one panel discussion in there, and you said, and then 10 questions for it, you got down to 2. What were the 2 questions?
They're different for everyone. Just kind of based on those original 10, we kind of drill down to what the hot button issues are. So we craft an individual question for that person based on whatever their hot button was. Like we had one town manager who had some seasonal issues with being a beach community. So that's a very specific question for him. I would encourage you to make the questions a little less specific. Like that one, for instance, was kind of hard for other panelists to pile on and add context. So the trick is finding something that's specific for that client, but others can add context too as well. A great question.
I think we have about 1 more minute, so yes, sir.
Your organization wants to rough number the ratio of the client experience.
Yeah, that's a good question, because the way our business, we're the largest single surveying firm in North Carolina. So the surveyors, I'm going to kind of grab them and kind of pull them to the side. Not that they don't matter, but I mean, really they're there as a support team for the other part. So they're not necessarily A few deal with clients, but for the most part, not. So that leaves somewhere, I'm going to say around, we're a 400-person firm. I'm going to say probably about 150 of those are like professionals or client-facing, potentially client-facing, or on teams that client-face. And we're at about 10 CX folks, and we have an opening. By the way, we have an opening for 2 CX staff, if anybody would like to talk to us afterward. So we have an opening for 2. So somewhere about, I'd say about a 10% would be optimal for us. Other questions? If not, I think we are like right on time. So thank you so much for your time today. And again, we'll be more glad to answer questions later. Thank you.